this edition of Sightings, it was a murder mystery so puzzling, the police turned to a psychic for help.
As we looked over the bridge, you could feel her calling.
Could the paranormal provide what police couldn't? It's been seen by doctors, nurses, police, and emergency workers, and they all believe we've got the wrong idea about the Angel of Death.
The Angel of Death is a friendly and loving figure.
An ongoing Sightings investigation follows one family's battle with a dangerous spirit.
Come here, Kathy.
All right.
Can you feel that?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Then, is this police recording proof that Sasquatch exists?
As it came into my bright light, I could see it was a Sasquatch.
And peer billions of years back in time, courtesy of the Hubble telescope.
Welcome to Sightings. I'm Tim White. Just 10 years ago, psychic detectives were a joke. They were a nuisance for police departments trying to solve baffling cases. Then a strange thing happened. Sometimes the callers were right. Sometimes their psychic hunches turned out to be true. A few historic cases in the 1980s forced police to look at psychics with new respect. And one of the cases that changed law enforcement's attitude dramatically was the case of Mary Cosette.
The closer we got to the bridge, the more I could feel her saying, like, come and get me, just come and get me.
She doesn't want to hear the voices of the dead. She doesn't ask to receive visions of unspeakable crimes and the final agonizing moments of a victim's suffering. But there they are, an immutable part of Greta Alexander's life. Greta doesn't know why the visions come, but it all started after she was struck by lightning.
I found that I was a different person. I found I could sense, I would know, and I would feel things that I never ever felt before.
The first time Greta called police with a psychic hunch about an unsolved crime, she was brushed off by skeptical detectives. But Greta was persistent and continued giving clues. Law enforcement began to sit up and take notice. Then, a landmark case in which Greta opened the minds of detectives around the world and closed an important case. Illinois, 1983. Coroner Bob Du Bois has a problem. A murder, but no body.
It was late in the fall when we started the search. The weather was extremely bad. It was freezing rain. There was a storm front moving in that would have covered the area with snow.
If they couldn't find the body of Mary Cosette, her murderer would be set free.
Tazewell County has a lot of square miles and a lot of roads. Therefore, it was impossible for us to search all of these roads because of manpower limitations. We had to find the body because if not, it would probably not have been found until the following spring, if then. Mary Cosette and her boyfriend were traveling from Alton, Illinois to Peoria. Just past the Mackinac River Bridge, the argument that had been building in the car reached a climax to a point where he pulled off to the side of the road. She was afraid of him. She bailed out of the vehicle, ran down the embankment.
In a jailhouse confession, Stanley Holliday said he had killed Mary and dumped her body. He didn't remember where. Illinois law states, find the body within 120 days or drop the charges. And time was running out, so Du Bois called a psychic he had heard about named Greta Alexander.
I called Greta and I asked her a single question, if in fact a body was located in Tazewell County. She did in fact immediately say that yes, we had a body in Tazewell County.
From her home, Greta also provided many details of the case that had not been reported by the media. Du Bois was impressed and sent Greta the murderer's palm print, a tangible piece of the crime from which Greta drew startling psychic impressions.
She looked at the palm print and started telling us what happened.
In 1983, Keith Jensen was the state prosecutor charged with bringing Mary Cosette's murderer to trial.
The heat was on us at that point in time. If we were going to prosecute him for her death, we had to find the body.
Jensen wanted every lead he could get, even leads from a psychic detective. In her mind, Greta returned again and again to this bridge over the Mackinac River. It was here that the psychic floodgates opened up.
I could feel her, and as we stopped and as we looked over the bridge, you could feel her calling, and I could hear the children singing. She kept showing me the children singing, the children singing.
Greta claimed to have made contact and began to speak as Mary, revealing what had happened on that dreadful night.
And immediately you feel like you're she. And there was fighting, and the arguing was unreal, and I just couldn't take anymore. And then I wanted out of the car. I wanted to get away. The car pulls over, and I get out to run. And then, oh, my back, as I'm accosted, and I'm rolling down and down and down, and then my body comes to a rest.
But where? The police wanted to know. Greta, as Mary, wasn't sure. It was dark, late, but she was able to narrow down the search area.
She took out a map of the state of Illinois and circled 3 areas in red. She also gave us a series of clues. She said, if I were Mary, these are the things that I would see.
And then there was like an old schoolhouse, and the kids were in these long dresses.
She said that the body was near a schoolhouse. We did, in fact, find that location of the school. The only thing left is the water pump that had been in front of the school in the playground area. The school itself has been long gone. When you are dealing with a psychic, they're operating in some realm that apparently has no time frame.
But a lot of outsiders were still skeptical. At the time, following up on a psychic vision was uncharted territory, until Greta's leads brought searchers to the body of Mary Cosette.
One of the things that Greta had mentioned to us was that from the body location, you could hear dogs barking and children singing. I got to the scene, went down the embankment, and as I'm kneeling next to the body, I hear dogs barking and children singing. There was a church camp located on the opposite side of the hill from our location.
Greta also told us that she'd been stabbed in the abdomen. When we examined the remains, and the remains were not quite skeletonized, there were puncture marks in her pantyhose in the area where Greta had indicated that she had had the pain. And Greta said that there was a weapon involved, but it wasn't a knife. She thought it may have been a puncture like an ice pick or a screwdriver, and it ultimately turned out that it was a screwdriver.
The information that Greta gave us from start to finish was 100% accurate. Nothing she told us was not correct.
News traveled fast. A psychic had helped law enforcement crack the county's biggest unsolved case.
As a result of Greta's actions, we were not only able to get a dangerous man off of the street, but we were also able to recover her body so that her family could put to rest knowing where she was.
Police officers are the kind of guys that they gotta try it, test it, hold it, feel it, then they believe it. I feel like that if I can give them one little helping hand, just one little thing that will help turn the corner for them, then I have done much.
Greta Alexander continues to work with police departments around the country and is considered one of this country's finest psychic detectives. Greta says she has helped law enforcement with more than 2,500 cases and never charges for her detective work.
Next, a new look at a very old phenomenon, the angel of death.
Every angel story I hear makes me believe more in angels.
Many people who have been declared clinically dead, only to be revived a short time later, tell remarkably consistent stories about what we can expect in the afterlife. The warm, welcoming light at the end of a mysterious tunnel is the now familiar hallmark of the near-death experience. But survivors at the bedside of dying loved ones also have a story to tell, of radiant beings who they insist are a far cry from the legendary angel of death we know as the Grim Reaper.
The angel of death has been traditionally defined as any angel to whom God delegates the power to take a mortal's life.
However, as noted historian John Ronner points out in this book, it is the devil's messenger with cape and scythe that most people associate with the angel of death.
The angel of death in our culture goes back primarily to the Bible, where angels are dispatched for the purpose of bringing death.
During the Middle Ages, that image of a beatific angel ferrying the dead to heaven changed to the horrible visage we know today. But as the millennium draws to a close, there is evidence that the angel of death has returned to its original protective being.
The good news is that generally the angel of death, contrary to the darker legends, is a rather friendly and loving figure.
Recently, angel researchers like Ronner have seen a remarkable trend. Survivors, family members, and even their doctors are sensing the presence of a radiant protective angel that waits beside the dying. Jack Allman has worked with the Greensboro, North Carolina Police Department for over 26 years. As a patrol officer, violent crime and traffic accidents were part of Jack's routine.
I witnessed death quite often, probably on the average of once a week. I've always been very skeptical of angels or any other claim of religious experience like that. Through my training as a police officer, I was trained to be skeptical of things.
Then, on the evening of January 7, 1984, Jack Allman was forced to reevaluate his skepticism when an apparition appeared to him by his dying mother's bedside.
I just want you to know that it's okay to die. I know that you're ready to go. And I told her that I loved her and that she should enjoy the trip. It was time for her to go and that it was okay for her to go. And I think she was at peace when we talked about that.
As his mother closed her eyes, Jack sensed a peaceful serenity descending upon the room.
All of a sudden, I was aware that her bed was encircled by possibly 11, 12 different beings completely encircling her bed. And these beings were dressed in a coarsely woven burlap-like cloak, and there was a very warm golden glow bathing the entire area. They were standing as a human being would stand. They were just very quiet, very still, and I could actually see through the being that was on my left.
4 hours after this awe-inspiring angelic encounter, Jack's mother was pronounced dead.
I've heard that the soul departs from the body before the body actually dies, so this may very well have been what I saw.
Days passed before Jack shared his experience, and then only with his wife. It was years before he told his story to anyone else, remembering that he was once a skeptic of the supernatural.
I believe that the figures were angels, and I believe that they came to escort my mother's soul to heaven. That's what I believe.
For years, Jack wondered, was he the only one who had seen them? The question was answered for Jack by fellow North Carolinian Leonard Day. Day is an author and counselor whose extensive angel research is included in his books, lectures, and in his artwork.
He came to me and he explained the entire encounter, and I said, yes. I said, you had an angel encounter. He had what we call a true case of an angel interaction.
Leonard Day has interviewed over 100 people with terminal illnesses and has found that a staggering number of them have had angelic encounters, identical to Jack Allman's.
It is believed that this glow that they are seeing is the actual radiance of the power of God, and it is their power source that they are bringing with them.
But, Day says, he has also researched angelic apparitions which appear in animal, human, or abstract form. Linda Davis is a registered nurse whose personal encounter with the angel of death took an abstract form. 6 years ago, Linda was on duty at the hospital when she saw what looked like a cloud of smoke hovering over a dying man on a stretcher.
And when the cloud went away, the patient died. And it was just always been my belief that that was the angel who came after him.
I believe in that case that the angel took on the form of a mist that was probably the departure of the spirit of this loved one departing and going on.
You just feel awe when you see something like that because you feel like you've been given a glimpse, a little bit of a glimpse of the other side.
Hey, hotshot.
Partly because of her angel experience, Linda is dedicated to promoting hospice care because it allows her patients to die at home, among loved ones, in an atmosphere conducive to a spiritual encounter.
I've had them tell me that the angel came and took me and showed me heaven, showed me where I was going. This is very common. In fact, it's more common for it to happen than for it not to happen.
Dr. Ann Alexander is an internist who works in the emergency room at an area hospital. Dr. Alexander believes that modern science and advancing medical technology sometimes inhibit the appearance of the angel of death.
We've taken dead people and we've kept their body alive, but there's more to a person than just their body. There's their soul. And if the soul isn't getting anything out of life, then what good is just the clothing? The actual human body, what good is that without the rest of it?
In the emergency room, Dr. Alexander has experienced several spiritual episodes that they never taught her about in medical school.
I have seen patients reach moments of peace, not resignation with their death, but just acceptance about it and readiness to go on to the next phase. It's no medicine that's made them feel like that. It's a spiritual something that's gone on inside of them. So hurry up, I press here.
For every doctor like Ann Alexander, there are many more doctors who may believe in angels but won't speak publicly about their beliefs.
Every angel story I hear makes me believe more in angels. I mean, I believe, when these people say they see something, I believe them. I wouldn't mind seeing an angel myself.
Ann's husband, Dr. Tony Alexander, is also an internist and a believer. His most remarkable angel experience occurred in 1995, when one of Tony's patients in seemingly excellent health asked to be hospitalized.
And then he told me that 2 nights before, in a dream, he saw his mother and another figure. And they told him he was going to be dying on Sunday morning.
Dr. Alexander admitted his patient under unconventional circumstances.
I just don't normally put people in the hospital unless they're very, very sick. And this is just the most unusual experience I have ever had.
On Saturday at 9 p.m., Dr. Alexander checked on his patient. The man was fine.
And at 5:05 on Sunday morning, he took his last breath and he died. There was no explanation other than something supernatural having intervened.
Both Doctors Alexander acknowledge that their belief in angels is outside of scientific logic.
I believe that angels exist. I believe that there is a guardian angel for each of us, whether we see it or not. And I believe that there is another figure that can be interpreted as the angel of death that does come at the time of death, a very peaceful spirit, to let that person know it's time to go and it's okay.
For those seeking a scientific explanation, angelic encounters can never be proved. For those seeking comfort, no further proof is necessary.
That angel is one of the most sensitive angels that God ever created.
No one knows how widespread the phenomenon is because so few people have come forward to talk about it publicly. It took Jack Allman 7 years and a chance meeting with Leonard Day before he told anyone about the vision at his mother's bedside. Angel researchers hope that this sightings report will encourage other people to come forward with their stories.
Next, examine the mysterious powers of the Ouija board. Later, Sasquatch caught on tape.
Here are some of the stories Sightings is following in the news. Is the Ouija board a toy or a mystical device for communication with the great beyond? A researcher at the Ryan's Institute for Parapsychology is undertaking a new study to find out, and he needs your help.
In Durham, North Carolina, researchers at the prestigious Ryan Research Center are trying to unlock the mysteries and myths of the Ouija board. Is this ancient device a parlor trick or a prophet?
What's primarily happening is that there's something, going through the person's mind or brain and then down to their hand that's guiding the pointer.
As far back as 500 BC, the triangular device called a planchette was used by mystics and metaphysicists as a conduit to divine instruction. Now, researcher Dr. John Palmer is trying to determine if the power of Ouija does in fact come from a paranormal source.
You have a sender in a room upstairs who's attempting to transmit a simple one-syllable word to one or two recipients who are seated downstairs. And what they're trying to do is to get the pointer to approach certain letters on the board, which we're hoping will either directly represent or be associated with the word that the sender is trying to transmit.
Dr. Palmer is also studying claims that the Ouija board can conjure up supernatural beings. The phenomenon is called automatism, where the person using the planchette feels that some external source is guiding their hands over the board.
One theory is that the source of the communications are spirits. The other theory is that these come from our own unconscious minds. And of course, it could be a bit of both.
Research into the source of the enigmatic power of the Ouija board is ongoing, both in Dr. Palmer's Ryan Institute laboratory and in a nationwide survey and test available through the Institute's website. In Sacramento, California, writer and editor Dennis William Houck has just published a new edition of the National Directory of Haunted Places, a compendium of more than 2,000 paranormal sites in the 50 United States.
The book started as a kind of a reference book for researchers. We wanted to assemble our best cases, and it was kind of a competition with our British counterparts, and we just wanted to show that we had a lot of good cases on record. As we got into it, though, we realized that a lot of these cases were still going on, and we wanted to make a directory that people could actually go to and visit and maybe perhaps see something or encounter something.
This edition is Houck's second directory to reportedly haunted houses, UFO landing sites, sacred places, and other supernatural locations. It updates entries from the first directory, including new sites and omitting others that have since been explained.
Hopefully we're going to update the book every couple of years. Like in 1994, we had the first edition. This edition represents perhaps an extra 250 cases that have made it into it, and we dropped probably another 100 cases.
Houck has visited over 300 of the published sites, and during his last 7 years of research, he has found that activity is on the rise.
I think the interest in paranormal phenomena certainly is increasing. In fact, the establishment of paranormal events is even increasing. The caseload on researchers like myself and the organizations is really becoming too much to handle, and it's increasing as we approach the millennium.
We'll have more stories in the news next time. Now, here's what's coming up as Sightings continues.
Can these psychics succeed in ridding this house of a dangerous entity?
Somebody was beating somebody up badly. I mean, this should have been laden with blood right here.
The dramatic conclusion of a Sightings investigation.
A lot of paranormal investigators believe that there are invisible doors between this world and the next, and that these cosmic portals allow spirits from the past to visit the present. On recent editions of Sightings, we brought you the haunting story of the Johnson family, who are finding out that a ghost door can open anywhere. And you never know who is going to show up.
The first spirit to haunt Kathy and Gus Johnson's home was a kind, protective spirit the family called Harriet. But when Kathy helped Harriet move into the light, the door was left open and a new, malevolent ghost moved in. Paranormal investigator Rob Conover, along with psychic investigator Jorianne DeFrey, are now faced with a dangerous mission. They've been asked to contact and then eliminate the evil entity.
When I walked into this house, I had the sense that this house was haunted. You could tell that there was energy here, but it wasn't clear at that time what kind of energy. I want to walk around and just get a sense of what's going on, what I'm picking up. I might be hearing information, so I'm just going to kind of talk to myself and see what I pick up and feel. When I started going down the hallway and I started feeling the heaviness, the sick to my stomach, that's when I could tell that something very, very negative was here.
Conover had been the original investigator, but Jorianne DeFrey had never been in the house before and knew nothing about previous investigations, and yet her psychic impressions were dead on.
I'm feeling a heaviness. It's heavier, it's denser, it's thicker. The air. Really bad. It's really bad. People were getting beaten. There was a lot of little, I could see some little girls going back and forth, but somebody was beating somebody up badly. I mean, this should have been laden with blood right here.
The psychic visions Jorianne recorded on audio tape also validated the findings of two other psychics who had surveyed the house. They all evoked the spirit of a brutal man named Jonathan Grady.
Really good. I think you've got a lot of activity here.
A lot of activity.
A lot of strange things going on.
I definitely think Jorianne sensed Jonathan and got the same feeling that we all had and that other psychics had told us, and that he was an evil person.
All right, so we'll take a walk through here.
Now, DeFrey and Conover join forces to search out the portal that will lead to Jonathan Grady. And immediately, Jorianne is drawn to the stairway, where a thermal camera had earlier picked up an anomaly. She then went into the bedroom, where Rob had detected extremely high levels of electromagnetism.
This was the area of my first confrontation.
Oh, is it really?
With the bad spirit.
Okay.
Here. And I drove him
See, I've got goosebumps all over the place.
We could walk over and we could feel about this far out of the wall, all the way to this part.
The coldness.
The coldness.
I was able to visualize the presence. I was able to see the entity. And it was a very, very, very ugly being.
But it was in Kathy's daughter's room that Jorianne felt she could almost reach through to the other side.
Even that moves.
It's moving.
Yeah.
It's moving this way.
Got it over there?
We chased him.
Yes. Come here, Kathy.
All right.
Can you feel that?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. When we first walked into the bigger room, it was very, very cold, much colder than the hallway, and there was no reason for that because the temperature's all the same upstairs. But there was definitely coldness.
The electromagnetic reader on a couple of occasions did register in spots where it shouldn't have. And there were a couple of spots and a couple of times when it did move a great deal when I felt and sensed the entity was around.
Both investigators felt the presence of John Grady was now with the group, and they laid out a strategy.
I would like to actually start cleansing each of the rooms. And as we're doing that, call in the white light to cleanse each and every room as we're going along.
Jorianne began the cleansing process in the basement, where Rob Conover had first claimed to encounter the violent entity.
To visualize this beautiful bolt of light, like a white tornado, just going around this whole room.
I'm getting a feeling in here Also getting a good reading in here.
Coming back here, okay.
This is the entity that's in the house. I challenge you at this point to show yourself to me.
There is energy here.
I feel like he's moving now. And he, according to this, he is too.
Room by room, the cleansing continued until they came to the bedroom and the door that Jorianne sensed there.
We found a vortex in that same room, and we worked at closing down the vortex. All right, so my sense is here. If you can visualize this, this opening that's about in this room, and that's going through this, permeating this wall to the other room, just start visualizing this thing getting smaller and smaller and smaller. As a last resort, when we were trying to close the vortex, we realized that the spirit was still very, very present, and he wasn't going to go anywhere.
I'm calling you forward now to my presence.
During a ritual that resembled a seance, Rob, Jorianne, and Kathy all felt that an evil spirit was moving among them, challenging them to fight.
In that process, I was then, and I'm very grateful because I could see this entity, very, very ugly. When I sensed him, the same animosity was there, the same negativity, the same challenge. Come on, you guys think you're so smart. You know, try to get me.
What was going through my mind was I was determined to do exactly what she said to help rid the family of this entity. When she began telling me what I was going to see, of course, I began seeing that.
You know, as soon as my head dropped, I just kind of knew that I was going to be kind of used so Rob could hear this entity speak and what the entity was saying.
There was a physical confrontation in my mind between me and an entity. It's time for you to go. You're not wanted here anymore. I saw myself just physically fighting with this thing, and to the point where I did subdue him and get him into this box and push him into this abyss that I was seeing in my mind.
Emotionally, I could feel it. My jaws were tight. They felt tired afterwards. My body felt tired. I felt like we had done it physically.
This is a hole that has to be like that which goes on forever. Going down, 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 down. Sometimes the spirits can come back, and you'll have to keep redoing the process. But it looked like, as of today, while we were doing this process, that it was a successful process.
All we can do is wait and see. We'll just keep our ears open and our eyes and see if he's gone.
I believe at this point, yes, Kathy and her son, her family should have a lot more peace in this house.
My conclusion is that I hope it is concluded. But if it's not, I'll be back.
The best hopes of Jorianne Dufresne and Rob Conover seem to be coming true. Kathy Johnson reports to Sightings that so far, the spirit of John Grady has not come back. And Kathy says her whole family is relieved to think that he has, probably, closed the door behind him.
For a number of Native Americans, the ancient myth of Sasquatch is very much alive.
They tell us not to look into his eyes because he can steal your spirit.
More than 100 years ago, American explorer A.R. Wallace wrote that he had discovered tribal sculptures along the banks of the Columbia River. 3 enormous ape-like heads carved in basalt. It was puzzling to Wallace, who knew that no primates had ever been discovered in North America. How do you know what a giant ape looks like? He asked the native artists. We know, they told Wallace, because we've seen them. This field recording is believed to be the warning call of Bigfoot. While investigators have largely concentrated on retrieving physical and photographic proof that the legendary creature is alive, audio recordings are now emerging as the best evidence. Most recently, this mysterious sound made headlines in Ohio. It is quite different from the aggressive shriek recorded more than 20 years ago in the state of Washington.
It's a very high-pitched, squealing, blood-curdling, make your hair stand on edge scream.
The sound was recorded by Chodish Katam Wichtelum, former police officer and elder of the Lummi tribe, which has a tradition of Sasquatch encounters. For them, the creature lives.
Our old people, like my grandmother, tell us stories about Siatko Salmaquist. You people call him Sasquatch. They tell us if we run across him, not to look into his eyes because he can steal your spirit. These are the legends the old people talk about.
In the American Indian tradition, all of the tribes of the coastal Northwest have a common belief about Sasquatch or Bigfoot.
James Swan is a naturalist and cultural historian who has studied the folklore of many tribes.
Modern Western culture jokes at Bigfoot, but in the Indian culture, Bigfoot is serious. This is a real being, a real creature with spiritual powers that lives in wild places. It's a guardian of sacred places, and it's not a joke at all.
All these people that seen him, who had an accidental run-in with him, all got affected the same. They went into shock.
In 1974, I went duck hunting in the evening about 6:15, 6:30. And I looked up, and this thing got out of the ditch, and I froze, and I got my knees start shaking, and that was Bigfoot. After that, I sold my guns, and I never did go hunting again, you know.
In the Lummi Nation, the oral tradition of tribal lore is now being written down by elders and tribal police. This is how we know that 1974 and 75 were banner years for Sasquatch encounters. According to records, there were over 1,000 reported sightings during that period, and Officer Chodish Katam took down most of them.
In 1975, I answered so many calls on him that people were making fun, saying that we were seeing things, that we were smoking dope, that we were drinking or something, and there was no such thing. And the more they taunted about it, the more I wanted to prove there was such a thing without killing him. I did not want to kill this animal. I wanted to prove that he existed.
And on a chilly, moonlit night in 1975, Chodish Katam had his closest encounter of the beastly kind. It is an event burned in his memory.
November the 22nd, 1975, at 2 a.m., I received a prowler call at Emma Smith's residence on Scott Road. I was going north on Chief Martin Road, which is just off from the Scott Road. I could hear this screaming. I could see this thing running right toward my car. As it came into my bright light, I could see it was a Sasquatch. He had his mouth wide open, showing me all of his teeth. He was coming at me in an aggressive manner.
His radio was on, and police dispatch recorded the moment the aggressive creature confronted the officer. Sightings asked Michael D., the mammal curator for the Los Angeles Zoo, to render an opinion on the alleged Bigfoot recording.
I've heard it, and it's like nothing I've ever heard before. It's a noise, but whether or not an actual creature made that noise, I can't determine that. It doesn't sound like anything that I am familiar with, and I certainly am familiar with almost all the mammals that are in North America and their calls.
The source of this disturbing wail may never be known. No additional recordings have been made in the area since 1975, but those who have encountered the great primate know he will return.
He looks so human. Their facial features are so much like our own that it's almost like you say, where did you come from? What are you? I want to talk to you. I want to communicate. There's not a doubt in my mind that Sasquatch exists.
The Lummis are not the only indigenous people who believe in the reality of Bigfoot. In fact, every single tribe in the coastal Northwest, from Alaska to California, has a traditional belief in Sasquatch.
Next, can astronomers actually look back in time?
It's an instrument that literally lets us look at what the universe was like when the universe was younger.
If you could travel back in a time machine, where would you go? Would you warn the crew of the Titanic to take more lifeboats, or perhaps you'd go further back and unravel the mystery of the Sphinx? If your flight of fancy goes even further back than that, back all the way to the birth of our planet, of our galaxy, well, you're in luck. There's a real lifetime machine hurtling through space right now, sending back pictures of the past. It's called Hubble.
We're talking about, as a matter of science, the same questions that have puzzled thinking men since anybody ever bothered to look up at the sky and say, "What's that star?"
Essentially, we had no idea the incredible intricacy and beauty of some of these objects.
It's the Hubble Space Telescope that is opening our eyes to this universal beauty. In its high Earth orbit, the Hubble is looking deeper into space than ever before, photographing objects so far away, it takes millions, even billions of years for the images to reach the camera lens. We are seeing infant galaxies, exploding stars, and cosmic metamorphoses that happened 15 billion years ago. And many of the Hubble's earth-shaking discoveries have been assembled in this book, a comprehensive authorized picture catalog. Martin Caden co-authored the book, aptly titled A Journey Through Time.
We have begun to learn to ask questions that before we were embarrassed to ask, such as, is there life in other worlds? Of course there is.
And Hubble may be our best hope for finding that life, as it creates a present-day record of the distant past.
The Hubble is very much a window in time. It's an instrument that literally lets us look at what the universe was like when the universe was younger.
Jeff Hester is a professor of astronomy at Arizona State University. He is part of the Hubble team, working to further the vision of Edwin Hubble, one of the first astronomers to explode the boundaries of outer space.
How can you make a more fundamental discovery than the discovery that we live in a universe that is itself expanding?
The launch of Hubble in 1991 energized the Space Shuttle program.
Space Shuttle Discovery with the Hubble Space Telescope, our window on the universe.
The first images, however, came back blurred, and scientists feared that the world's first time machine might be lost. But a daring spacewalk repaired the damage, and when the first clear images were transmitted back to Earth, the vision of the cosmos was beyond astronomy's wildest dreams.
We see details we never even imagined, and there's some incredible pictures which, even as a professional astronomer, one looks at and just, goes, oh, wow, this is, unbelievable.
And Mark Postman was there, an astronomer at the Space Telescope Science Institute. He's been part of the Hubble project from day one.
I think this generation of people on Earth is extremely privileged to be able to live at a time when we can, in fact, build devices that allow us to look back into the universe and see what it was like 10 billion, 15 billion years ago.
The data is startling, but it is the sheer beauty of the images that have captivated the world.
Essentially, we're seeing the way these galaxies were 5 to 10 billion years ago. And that just allows us to really make important breakthroughs in understanding how they have come to be.
What we're really studying is how you and I came to be here.
It's a fascinating place out there. It is absolutely alive, and we're just beginning to understand it. It's a pretty damn good time to be alive.
Hubble is sending back pictures of the past, but it's traveling in the present. No one knows what the galaxies that Hubble is discovering look like right now. There may be planets there, life forms, perhaps even intelligent beings. Who knows? Perhaps the first proof of life on other planets will be an extraterrestrial home video transmitted back to us via the Hubble Space Telescope.
If you've had a paranormal experience, please write to us at Sightings. Sightings can also be contacted at America Online at keyword Sightings. Download images, sounds, and QuickTime clips from Sightings episodes. On the internet, access information about sightings and the paranormal at sci-fi.com/sightings.
Until next time, remember, no mystery is closed to an open mind. For Sightings, I'm Tim White.
Next on Sci-Fi, Dark Shadows.
In a place where time stands still, their time is running out.
They will eat you alive and screaming!
Stephen King's The Langoliers starts Friday at 9 on Sci-Fi.
Thank you.